You know, I think that it is a shame that as we grow up, we sometimes lose the ability to play like kids. When we were kids, we were able to make believe, we were able to pretend, we were able to sometimes take those dreams and those imaginations and make them into reality. And my advice is that if you can find and make friends who know how to play like you do, make friends with them. And I feel really fortunate that I have made friends with some people that really know how to do camping. Because listen, let me tell you something. I don't like the idea of camping, but this is not camping. And I was out here, I'm here on Orcas Island, which is part of the San Juan Islands here in the Pacific Northwest. And my friends, this is how they camp. Canvas wall tents, actual furniture, linens, silver, glass, and lanterns. So, July the 4th, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, and the last time we were together in October, they invited me back for July the 4th, and we thought, why don't we dress up? Why don't we make this like a real thing, using this setup and really leaning into it? So this costume has been in the works since October. The breeches were made by a breeches maker in Virginia. The coat and the vest were made by Ian Graves, who makes clothing for reenactors. The hat was made in Colonial Williamsburg. I decked it all out, and here I am. This is my tent setup, which I have just been leaning into and loving for the past few days. The wonderful thing about this setup is that as romantic as it looks, it's actually really practical. So today was a beautiful day where the sun came out, but for the last 2 days it's been raining, and the canvas, the cotton, the tent is cotton, and it's treated cotton. So it's like a wax-proof cotton, and we have an awning up here that's also this waxed cotton, and it's being held up by these posts, which get angled in to maneuver the awning to let any excess water drain off. And for the last 2 days, with all the rain, we've been allowing the water to drain off, and I've been using said water to, guess what? Come over here. I've been sitting here in the rain, dressed up, and I have been painting watercolors. I thought, what do I paint in the rain? And what does one do when one is under a tent in the rain for 2 days? The most civilized thing to do is to have a glass of wine. So naturally, I thought, well, why don't I just paint my glass of wine? So these are the studies that I've been doing for the last 2 days of various wine glasses with wine in them. Now, you are joining me at, I believe, the most magical part of the day, which is dusk. It's when the light is changing. And a very crucial part of this experience are these lanterns. What illuminates this whole setup? Well, in the 18th century, it would have been candles. But when we're doing this camping experience, my friends always use lanterns because they're safer. And I discovered a wonderful company, Vermont Lanterns, that makes these beautiful, really sturdy lanterns in all different shapes and forms that emulate lanterns from the past. And they were very, very, very nice to me. And they said, we want to be a part of your camping trip. And they mailed out these lanterns to Seattle. So thank you, Vermont Lanterns, for doing this. You have really added to this experience of camping out here. Let me show you some of the lamps. This right here is a railroad style lantern. So this is a lantern that's meant to be able to withstand like any kind of banging, so that the glass is protected by this cage. And this is the great thing about this company, is they're making all different forms of lanterns out of solid brass. They're very sturdy. So I have a railroad lantern hanging up here. And then on the table, there's what's called a cargo style lantern, which is a lantern that wood slash could be in the hold of a ship. And this part right here, they're so beautiful how they're made. This comes out like this. You light it and then you put it in here, and the glass is protected. So again, these panes of glass are protected by brass rods. And this can be hung, or I'm using it right now, put on the table. And then we have a sort of a parlor style or saloon lantern, a hanging. This is very fancy. This one here, which was rigged up, my friend rigged it up on the post of the awning. And this has a reflector on it, or a shade. And the shade, because the shade is made of brass, it actually casts the light downward. The light that's bouncing up onto this really polished, shiny brass is going to cast downward. And this, let me light this now because it's time to light this. I brought along my Vesta case. Okay, so when you light a lantern like this is something that I learned actually only recently. You think that you should have the wick going above the burner, but actually it should be below the burner. Let's see here. See that? This is what's very misleading, is you think it should be up here, right? So see how high the flame is? And then you put it down and you think, oh, it's too far down. But look, I'm continuing to go down, and there's a certain sweet spot where when it goes down far enough, it burns like that. And that's where the wick should be. So the issue is, if your wick is way up high like this, like you'll think, oh, it's supposed to be burning there, but what will happen is it will create soot on the chimney. Like all of this over the course of a couple minutes will get black, and you don't want that. So you light the wick and then you lower the wick to this sweet spot. Like look, it's here now, I'm lowering it. You play with it, but basically it should be lower than you think, and then the flame kind of climbs up. Look now, see, it climbed up a little bit, so now I'm lowering it even more. The instinct is to turn it up, but really you want to lower the wick, and then you find this sweet spot where it's burning like that. It also uses less fuel, but this is how the wick should burn. So it takes some getting used to understanding. The other thing that I love about these saloon parlor lanterns is that, look at this beautiful little, this catch, and this is the catch for the heat. So this little hanging thing, it's just a little, it's on a hook, and it's a cap that goes above the chimney that prevents that heat from touching whatever it is that's directly above the chimney. In this case, it's this piece of wood and canvas, and because this is hanging so high, you don't really want that heat to just be bouncing off of here for a very long time. So this little detail is essential. Okay, now let's go into the tent proper. Here's where I've been sleeping. It's so wonderful. It's so magical. Last night I went to sleep to the sound of the rain in my little cot, and this lamp was lit. This is another cargo lantern. So imagine this would be in the bowels of a ship, like in the hold area, and you can envision this like moving around like this. Sometimes they're on a little gimbal where the thing can move around and the flame will stay steady. But this is the style of the cage around the glass is really, again, to protect the glass from breaking. If something bumps up against it or hits it, that glass is not going to break. They're just so beautiful, and there's such a variety of lanterns that you can go crazy with them. I have one at home that's very different from any of these that I use almost every night. And my little setup here is a little bit of home, a table, a candle, a beautiful pewter cup that was gifted to me from Williamsburg when I visited, a lovely souvenir that I'm using here. And then a Persian rug. I think every tent, if possible, should have a Persian rug. And a cot. This is a wooden cot, like a wood and canvas cot that folds up. And some woolen blankets. So that's July the 4th from Orcas Island here in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you again, Vermont Lanterns, for illuminating our evening. Happy 4th to everybody out there that's celebrating. Goodbye. Good night.